para sa pagbabago. Awa na ang bayan ko sa magnanakaw na tao. Madilim na kahapon, ikaw ang mag-aamon. Sa piling mo, di ko mawawala ang korupsyon. Ano na magbago? Hawat kamay tayo para sa pagkasentro. Ikaw at ako, tayong lahat kay Rodrigo. Verde para sa tunay na pagbabago. Magdan mo ang paligid, alamang mga krimen.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
I lost sound for a second. Sorry about that, but I can hear you now.
Oh.
And I believe we're live as well.
Oh, yeah, we're live now. And
yeah, so go ahead. You can ask me any questions, and I'm pleased to meet you. Whereabouts are you in the Philippines?
We're from Manila, actually. And actually, a lot of people would like to hear your views regarding the recent Sona. But first of all, I'm one of your fans. Actually, I've been watching watching your analysis, your views regarding the Sona, actually. So I'm one of your fans, really. So first of all, we would like to ask if you can tell us something about yourself. What led you to Duterte, and how can you really analyze what led you liking to Duterte? That's my question.
Sure. You know, I've been a big supporter of the president now since just after he took office. I have to say that when I saw the election process, I know as a foreigner under Comelec rules, you can't really have any kind of involvement in the election process. So I was very careful not to make any comments at all during that time. But the thing is, and I apologized already. In fact, I wrote a letter to the president to apologize. Basically, when I first heard about the president, I was a victim of fake news. So I listened to all the fake news about the president. I was really not supporting him. In fact, I wrote a letter initially saying that I didn't support him. And my wife was listening to lots of YouTube videos about the president, about all the good things that were happening in the Philippines. So then I got to hear the real news. And as a result of me hearing the real news, I then became a big supporter of the president. So I've been supporting him ever since.
Well, that's very. I'm very proud of to hear that from you. Actually, I'd like to ask you a few questions. What led you to liking Duterte? Actually, I'm really curious. Can you tell us about what led you to liking Duterte? What is his style of leadership? Uh, is it a nonsense? Is it flowering words or something? Can you tell the viewers?
Yeah, so what got me to like the Duterte? I want to start by going back a little bit and to say that I'm married to a Filipina. And
Oh,
I strongly believe if you marry somebody from the Philippines, I strongly believe that you should embrace their culture, you should embrace their identity. You know, there'll be some foreigners, maybe they're married to a Filipina, but they won't want Tagalog to be spoken in the house, you know, or they won't want to eat Filipino food. I'm a firm believer that if you love the if you truly love your partner, you should try and embrace their culture, embrace their hobbies, embrace their passions as well. And as a result of that, I've always been a supporter of the Philippines. In fact, going way back, I had a website called philevent.com, and I used to promote Filipino culture. In fact, I linked up with the embassy in the UK, so I was invited to many Filipino events. And as a result of that, I also got to meet both presidents. I was invited to a breakfast meeting with President Gloria with the Filipino community. And of course, President Aquino, I was invited to a meeting with President Aquino. It was like a group of us, there were about 100. And I have a little bit of a funny story about that, and I probably need to share it.
yeah.
Basically, before President Aquino came out, the protocol team from the Philippine government said you're really not allowed to shake the hand of the president. It's not really protocol to shake his hand. So basically, when he came out, we all had to meet him in groups. And he was handing out, you know, this yellow ribbon, this like yellow kind of bracelet thing. And as he went to shake my hand, I quickly pulled my hand away. So I apologized and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, sir, but I find that quite funny that I didn't actually get to shake President Aquino's hand. I actually pulled away from the opportunity. I've always supported the country, but particularly having been home for the last 30 years, 28 years." I've seen so many changes. I've seen a time where there was so much drugs on the street, there were drug dealers, there were so many crimes, there was so much corruption. You know, there's so many kids begging on the street. I remember the first time I went back home, there was this little kid and she was selling the balaklak and she nearly got run over by a car. And that
Oh,
kind of made me kind of understand about what was happening in the Philippines. And also in my wife's province as well, there was a young kid who died because they couldn't afford to see the doctor. So
oh,
over the years, you know, I've seen how the Philippines has been, and I've seen how the Philippines is going. And I have to say, all of the incredible laws that have been passed by President Duterte, what he wants is a safer Philippines, a Philippines free from drugs, a Philippines free from corruption, and these are all the things that I want too. So I've really identified with the president. And the thing is, I've said this before, and I'm sorry to go on a little bit. There's so many people, politicians, who hide behind rhetoric. There's so many politicians who say all these wonderful things that we're doing so well and all these wonderful things are happening, but maybe that's not true. But President Duterte is honest. He said, look, this pandemic has set us back. He said, if we don't change things, if we don't do this quarantine, we're going to be in deep shit. And that's what I like about the president. He has this no nonsense approach. He says things the way that they should be said. He's honest with the Filipino people. And I don't believe the Philippines has ever seen a president like that before. And this is why I still support him so much.
thank you so much for supporting
Ayan.
our country.
Yeah.
Mr. Reaksyon, would you like to ask a
Okay.
question?
First of all, sir, good evening. Welcome, Mr. Malcon. Thank you for accepting our live interview. Because a lot of viewers here, you would like to hear your reaction. So, first of all, sir, uh,
What happened?
I think we
Naghan.
might have a tech problem
Okay.
at his end.
Before he comes back, I would like to give you a background of Reaction TV. It's a non-profitable. This is not profitable. Any donations they give or not, it's fine with us. All these proceedings they go to the in the Philippines, where we are having a every Sunday we're having a outreach program, which we are giving it to the poor. So that's why I supported Reaction TV. That's why I'm here. Mr. Don Kenko is here. He is also supporting Mr. Reaction. So that's why I believe this. I believe that honesty and integrity is important as a YouTuber. Integrity, honesty. So I'm being honest here. I'm telling you all these things. If they give or not, we don't mind actually. We have our jobs. We're earning, and we don't mind actually. We're sending all these proceedings to the poor people in the Philippines, and those who are in need. So thank
I
you so
think
much
that's
for coming.
well, I think that's so important as well. I think that's what it's about, isn't it? About honesty. In fact, you find so much in politics, people would kind of do things for the wrong reasons. And what I like is you have this advocacy of helping the people. And I think that's really, really good. This is what the Philippines needs. It needs more people to help the country. The president can't do all of the work alone. And the OFWs can't do all of the work alone. It needs the whole nation to be unified and to be giving out the real news, the real story, and having these kind of programs. Because unfortunately, we can't really rely or trust the organizations like Rappler to be able to do what we're doing.
Yeah,
They would only have a certain kind of news that would suit their agenda. And I've said this before, the problem is there's lots of, how am I going to put this? Whenever there's bad news, it makes the news. Whenever there's a
that's true.
bad story, whenever there's a disaster, whenever the president swore on live TV, it would get so much coverage in The Guardian, the BBC, the Daily Mail. But what doesn't get the coverage is when the president introduces new bills, when he introduces the Universal Healthcare Act, when he makes it easier for Filipinos with the introduction of the passport from 5 years to 10 years, which means there's less difficulties for OFWs and a one-stop OFW shop. All of the things like this don't really make the front page of Rappler or even the front page of their website, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, that's it. Mr. Don Kenko, would you like to ask a question?
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir, because I have a technical problem of electric power. Automatic shutdown. I don't know what happened.
Oh,
But anyway, Mr. Don Kenkoy, because I proceed to my welcome introduce to Mr. Malcolm because I watching your video yesterday, sir, regarding us about Sona of BP LENI Robredo. So I believe he is the one of the stand of our to our President Duterte because all your thought and all your video is great. So thank you very much, sir, because my co-Filipino people as they not appreciate about the Duterte administration, but you from the other country is your stand to our president. Thank you very much, sir.
thank you so much. A lot of people have said this. I think I'm probably the most prominent foreign supporter of the president. I don't believe there's any doubt about that. If you go on Google, if you go on YouTube, you'll see that I put in so much effort. And some people have said, oh, why has he got to meet the president? I'm not even Filipino and I haven't met him. Of course, I'm not looking for any kind of thanks. I'm not looking for any kind of justification. But I have to be honest with you and said over the last 4 years, I've posted night and day. I've woken up in the middle of the night to post a article about the president or something from the presidential communications team or something from the office of the president. And I've put in so much dedication and effort because I really believe in what's happening in the family, in the country. And for those who say that you're not Filipino, what's it got to do with you? I would just say this, my family are living in the Philippines. I've been visiting the Philippines for the last 30 years. I've visited the country 60 times. I help the Philippines in any way that I can, and I live my life connected with the country. I'm sorry, I don't want to apologize to my haters or to my opposers, but what can I do? I can't change that. I can't change my love of the Philippines, I can't change my love of the country, and I can't change my love of the president.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. And
Uh,
also, Don Kenkoy, my co-host, he have a question to you, Mr. Malcolm. So
Go
please
ahead.
proceed. Ken. Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to thank all viewers of Reaction TV who supporting this live stream of Reaction TV, and especially to you, sir. Thank you so much. I watched your video earlier, and I'm so glad and I'm happy that you are the one of supporting our president, the president of the Philippines. And about the question, I'm preparing for question as of now. So maybe I will ask some question earlier. Or
okay.
thank you so much,
No
sir. Thank you so
worries. Yeah,
much.
you carry on. Go ahead.
Thank you so much,
Uh,
sir. Thank you so much.
I'd like to react on one of your the sauna that you mentioned yesterday. Your reaction on the sauna. I was really impressed when you told that it's like Duterte. You're sitting on the fireplace, like your dad talking, like your dad is talking to you while you're listening. I was really so impressed with what you told regarding your assessment with the President Duterte. But I have one question. Is it proper for a vice president to have her own sauna? Actually, this is the first time in my life I heard this one. Can I have your reaction regarding to this one?
Well, I just think it's a real shame that the vice president of the Philippines is not aligned with the president of the Philippines. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know of any other country where the vice president and the president are on opposing sides. You know, the vice president has called herself the official opposition of the government, and yet she is a member of the government. So I think that's a unique position. And you know, the fact is that even when she was given the opportunities, for example, she was made part of the anti-drugs, you know, the drugs board,
Yeah.
and she lasted for I think 16 days or whatever it may be. And then during that time, obviously, then she was collecting information, and then she did her own report on her view. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, this is not about bashing the vice president. You know, the fact is, whether people like it or not, she is officially the vice president of the Republic of the Philippines. But I just do think that, you know, she doesn't have any mandate to have her own Sona. You know, the fact is that the president holds the Sona every year of his term of office. And basically, she was invited to that as she normally is. Admittedly, because of the COVID-19, she couldn't be there in person, but she was addressed appropriately. She was addressed politely. The president, after he mentioned the congressmen and the senators, he then formally introduced her as the vice president of the Philippines. But the thing is, she obviously wanted to have her say afterwards, and you know, that's fine. But, you know, if it was something positive, if it was something that would contribute. But the thing is, she talks about mass testing. Now, the last time I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, there
Yeah.
are 110 million Filipinos. And even if you wanted to hand out £50 to them to help them during COVID-19, she needs to do the maths. She needs to work out 110 million times £50. Yes, I admit there are some rich people in the Philippines who don't need that help. But the point is, you know, the reason why people complain about why the Philippines needs to borrow money, you know, for the social amortization program, etc. If you times even one payment of £50 by even 1 million people, you do the maths yourself. You know, that you cannot help every single person. I'm sure the government wants to help everybody, but there just isn't the financial resources to be able to do that. So what more for testing? How can you test everyone? You can't do that. It's physically impossible. She should probably get her calculator out and try and do the maths herself. She'd probably get hopelessly lost. But the fact is, I don't think she would be able to test every single Filipino, as much as it's a shame. So the only way of dealing with COVID-19 is through this quarantine. People say that quarantine is a waste of time. It hasn't done any good. What is the roadmap of the president? But, you know, this quarantine has prevented thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of deaths. You only have to look at the total number of people who've died so far. And the total number of people who've died so far due to COVID-19 in the Philippines is just under 2,000 people. Whereas in some Western countries, we had 2,000 people dying in one day or in 2 days. So the only way to prevent the spread is through quarantine. Yes, it's a problem, and yes, it's affecting the economy, and quarantine can't continue forever. But the fact is, until either a vaccine has been found or the ability to treat people has been strengthened, i.e. they've now found drugs that can treat COVID-19, I think the president was very right to do what he did. And, you know, I think that needs to be mentioned, that rather than being critical, I think that everyone needs to work together to support the country.
Yeah, that's correct. Mr. Kenko, you have any questions? Reaction TV, you have question?
Uh,
No?
yes,
Okay.
because I know, sir, and you know also the currently situation in the Philippines. A lot of misleading information about the reporting from the our government. Then too much example, the Yellow Group and Liberal Party, they too much react about the administration Duterte. And what you react about this misleading information? And I think we need to help both sides, from Vice President and our administration. What do you think, sir?
I think you make a very good point. As I said earlier on, I think bad news sells. Nobody's going to buy a newspaper. Nobody's going to read through an article if it's something that's good, something that's positive. People are going to scan it for a few seconds. If you take a 2-hour speech of President Duterte, which maybe will be in Tagalog, maybe it'll be in Bisayan, it will be directed to certain audiences. You take a 2-hour speech of President Duterte, he says one word: if you encourage my children to take drugs, I will kill you. And the problem is that gets translated so many ways into so many different languages. That gets sold to Rappler. Rappler then sell it to an international media organization. That international media organization then copies it and sends it to the BBC, sends it to The Guardian, with the help of Jonathan Miller, who's based in the Philippines. It becomes something really, really bad and makes the Philippines look very, very bad. And I think people have to understand. So I'd like to say to these international journalists that why don't you get somebody to translate to English? Why don't you broadcast the whole speech? Why don't you explain the context? Why do you go for that one swear word or that one bad comment? And why do you make that into 10,000 words?
Yeah, that's correct. I'd like to ask you a personal question. Regarding ABS-CBN, do you have any comment?
No
You're very
problem.
clever. You've done your research.
This is
and
a personal question. This is not.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is
You're very
only my
question.
clever.
view.
You're very
Yes,
clever. You've done your research and you've clearly looked into me. You must probably follow me on social media, and I have to be very careful here.
And
But
yes,
I will answer you. I'm happy to answer you.
yes,
When I first got involved with the Philippines back about 25 years ago, you have to understand this was the days before Facebook. This was the days before social media. This was the days before YouTube. And the only way that I could find out about the Philippines was to watch Philippine television. Now, you have to understand that I was desperate to hear anything from the Philippines. In fact, even listening to a Jollibee commercial on social, not even on social media, even listening to a Jollibee commercial. I love the way Filipinos talk. I love their accent. I love everything about them. I love to see Filipino celebrities. It's something that I have in my heart, and I can't quite explain it. But what I can say to you is this. I got a video from Ryan Kayabyab. You know the Ryan Kayabyab singers?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was
yeah.
an ABS-CBN program, and I watched that on my video, you know, the old Betamax videos in those days. And I watched that, and, you know, it gave me a connection with the Philippines. And again, before the days of social media, I was one of the first subscribers to the Filipino channel in the UK. I went to the Barrio Fiestas of London that I support. I'm one of the board members of the Philippine Centre. I'm very much involved in the Barrio Fiestas of London. It's a Filipino event, a Filipino festival, and it celebrates Filipino culture, Filipino achievements. So I got a video from there of Ryan Kiabiab, and I played it on my player. And then, of course, you know, I found a connection. You have to understand that I'm not only about politics. I love Filipino culture. I love Filipino music. I love watching the latest teleseries. I love watching Filipino movies. You know, the first movie that I watched is Dubai with Aga Mulak and
Yeah.
Pokwang. And then after that, I then went on to watch Nasaan Kaman. I then watched a series of Be Careful With My Heart, which I really
Okay.
enjoyed. You know, the other series as well after Be Careful With My Heart, which is also a project of ABS-CBN as well. And in fact, I've been in quite a privileged position. Because I used to work at I know this story is long-winded, but I want to explain the context. I used to work at the London Eye, and I started working at the London Eye shortly before it opened in the year 2000. And I was able to invite a lot of the ABS-CBN artists onto the London Eye. So I invited the cast of ASAP, I invited other shows, I invited so many celebrities. And you have to understand, before I even knew about the president, I identify with Filipino culture. In fact, I have a lot of actors and celebrities of ABS-CBN who follow me on social media, and I follow them back on social media. Over the years, I've been very privileged in that when I've gone back home to the Philippines, I've managed to watch ASAP about 5 times in the Philippines. And I've had very good seats in ASAP. I've been most grateful. I've met a lot of the cast and crew back home, a lot of the directors. And, you know, I don't understand about politics. I don't understand about all of those issues. And I'm not even going to comment on any of those issues. I'm not prepared to comment on them. But what I will say is this. I know I will get haters over this. But please don't take away my passion. Please don't take away my culture. Please don't take away my love of the Philippines. Please don't take away my personal friendships with the people who work at ABS-CBN. I remember going back to a Barrio Fiesta about 6 or 7 years ago, probably about 8 years ago, where we were finishing the fiesta. So we had the weekend, and people were dropping a lot of their litter. There were people dropping their barbecue things and their cutlery. And there I was until 2 o'clock in the morning with some of the other ABS-CBN employees. And we were literally getting blisters. We were digging out pieces of cutlery, plastic cutlery, on our hands and knees at very early in the morning as a team. And then we were eating together. I was attending a lot of the shows. In fact, I was invited to watch One Capamillia go in Nice, so I met the cast. I had dinner with them. You know, I'm not going to change any of that. They're memories. You know, my children, the only way that they knew how to speak Tagalog was watching ABS-CBN shows. You know, there weren't any other channel. We weren't able to get GMA here. We didn't have the beauty of YouTube. The only way that my children could identify with their Filipino side was watching ABS-CBN shows. And I'm not prepared to apologize for that. I'm not prepared to somehow backtrack and say I wish I never watched ABS-CBN, because I've got to be true to myself. You know, you have to understand, with me, politics and culture are separate. Everybody knows that. The team in the Philippines know that. The Presidential Communications Operations Office team know that, because they've seen me posting pictures with the artists of ASAP. People have to understand that I'm a very big supporter of the Philippines. I'm a very big advocate of the Philippines. I'm passionate about the country. I'm passionate about the people. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm also a big supporter of the president. And what I say to people is this: take it or leave it. What I get very angry about is people who are Duterte supporters saying you're false, you're CIA, you hate the Philippines, you hate the president. No, I love the president very much. I love the Philippines very much. But not only that, I'm not going to take away my passion. I'm not going to take away my love for the Filipino channel. I'm not going to take away the fact that that has been there for OFWs on cruise ships. They watch TFC. A lot of my friends, particularly my elderly Filipino friends, they watch the teleseries, they watch Provinciano, they watch all these shows, and I'm not prepared to take that away just because I support the president. I support the president 100%, but I'm not stupid. I don't agree with everything. I'm not somebody who would say, I'm not saying I'm not DDS, because I am a dedicated Duterte supporter. But what I will say is this: if anyone is very rude on my channel, on my Facebook, I will block them. You know, you take it or leave it. You either want me as a supporter of the president, who also is a fan of TFC, or you don't. It's as simple as that. If you want to hate me, if you want to block me, if you want to remove me, that's absolutely fine. But I love both, and I'm not going to change that just because people want me to. And I'm sorry that's been such a lengthy question, but I felt, in respect to you guys, it deserved a proper answer. And the proper answer is this: that I love both, and I'm not going to change that. And don't tell me that you don't know the issues, because I do know the issues. I watched every single one of those congressional hearings. I've watched every single one of them. In fact, I've even written to Congress personally. You know, I'm not an idiot. I wasn't born yesterday. But the fact is, I won't change my passion for TFC. And I have to say, there is a lot of fake news out there as well. And that's from all sides. You know, I'm sorry to say that. There'll be people who pretend they're DDS and they post something to make other DDS look angry. There's somebody who's going to post, this is Her Majesty the Queen, I love President Duterte. That's fake news. Her Majesty the Queen never comments on politics. There's fake news coming from all sides. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry that's been long-winded, but I just felt that I should go ahead and just tell you the truth and answer that truthfully.
That's why I want to thank you for your honest answer, because
Yes.
actually this is Reaction TV, and your reaction is respected here, and your answers are really respected in this channel.
Yeah.
So
I very
it's up
appreciated.
to them
And,
to accept or not.
yes,
Thank
because
you.
and also, sir, I have a question. But before anything else, I need to read the viewers. And the viewers said, what is it? The viewers is, okay, where's the viewers? Our president is working until down just for protect our country. Our president is a really patriotic person. And Ma'am Pilar Escobedo is, thank you, Mr. Malcolm, for support our president and the Filipino people as well. Yeah. It's from viewers and also from Japan. I salute you, sir. Hayashi from Japan. And my question, sir, is, what characteristic do you see to President Duterte that's make amaze?
Well, you know, the thing is, like every President Duterte is not only a president of a country, he's also
Yes.
a Filipino citizen. He's a citizen of the Philippines. And as such, he says that he's a government worker. He's not somebody who wants all these airs and graces. He's not somebody who would expect people to bow to him. You know, you even have to look at him when he's at a meeting with different Filipino communities. He immediately says, you can sit down. You know, he doesn't want people to stand up and cheer him. What President Duterte wants, I believe, is just for people to do their jobs. And he doesn't want anyone to have any special privileges. You know, during the lockdown, he could have very easily caught a private plane and he could have very easily flown to Davao. He could have done that immediately at the start of the lockdown. But he didn't do that. He chose to stay in the palace. He chose to stay in that war. It reminds me as well of our own royal family. During the Second World War, the royal family could have been taken into hiding. They could have been hidden in some palace somewhere. But they said very clearly that they want to stay there. They want to be there with the people. And that's what I like about the president. You know, he doesn't want to eat oysters and caviar every day. He wants to eat ordinary foods. You know, his favorite canteen in Davao. He just wants to go there and just to eat a simple meal. And that's what I like. He's very humble. And, you know, even when I met him, he shook my hand 5 times. He knew me. He said, thank you for supporting the country and thank you for supporting me. And it just shows you he's not a president who wants any airs and graces. He is a president who generally cares for the Filipino people. And as I've said before, he treats the Filipino people as his family.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir.
Very. Thank you
Sir,
so much.
sir, we have a question from our viewers from Jemros Richfield from Singapore. Can you ask Mr. Malcolm what can he say about Cory Aquino, who is celebrating her death anniversary today? This question, sir.
You know, I've got to be honest. I haven't really followed Philippine politics so much as I have now with the Duterte administration. You know, I know the history. Don't get me wrong. I do know the history. I know the history with people power. I know the history of the time of Marcos. I know the history of Cory Aquino. You know, I'm not the kind... People have to understand that there are some people who would swear, some people would insult. I'm not that kind of person. I've always been polite. If you look at any of my open letters, I've never sworn. I've never said nasty things about people. There are people out there who can do that. Maybe might be another blogger out there who could do that, or another DDS who might want to do a certain post. But I'm not going to change the way that I am. I have a respect for the Philippines. I have a respect for the Filipino people. Some people say I shouldn't be commenting on politics, but maybe they're right. But I particularly endear myself to President Duterte. But what I can say is this: you can't change the past. You can't change history. You can't turn back the clock. And, you know, it would be wrong of me to say lots of things to hate every single politician. But all I can say is this: under President Duterte, there have been massive improvements in infrastructure, massive improvements in the country. The country is safer, there's less drugs, crime has gone down by 50% in many different provinces in the Philippines. Before, you heard about all these murders, all these rapes, all these drug problems, and that's a thing of the past. So I have to say this: while concentrating on your own family, what about concentrating on improving the infrastructure of the country? Why weren't these things implemented before? Why wasn't this deposit scheme where you had to go to a hospital? I remember before, when my family got sick, they couldn't afford to go into the hospital until we laid down a deposit. You know, we had to make this awful decision on whether we could afford another night in intensive care because of the cost. It's only now that the Universal Healthcare Act has been signed. My question is this: why weren't all of these things done before? Why weren't they done before the term of President Duterte? And why were the Filipino people suffering for such a long time under previous regimes? Again, that's not directly answered the question, but I hope you get my sentiments from that.
That's a perfect answer for a very good
Yes.
question.
But sir,
I'd like to,
you said the crime rate is down at least 50%. Our President Duterte. But Maria Ressa on Rappler is he said as she said this she said the crime rate is not working to our president. I don't know what happened. You know, sir, the BBC interview to Maria Ressa before. So what do you reaction? What your opinion about the interview to our to Maria Ressa?
You know, I have to say, I really thank you guys, because I really thank the fact that you've given me this opportunity. And I know I'm going to kind of enjoy this. You know, the problem is Maria Ressa and Pinoy Ako blog and
Yes.
the Liberal Party, the Yellows, and Vice President LENI, you know, they would paint the country as a country where there is rampant crime. They would paint the country of a country where there are regular shootings, regular killings, and that the Philippines is not safe. And unfortunately, there's also some Dilawan, there's some anti-Duterte who say
Yeah.
that the country is going bad, and there's killings, and there's shootings, and there's corruption. But I have to say this, the Philippines relies on tourism. The Philippines relies on internal investment. It needs more foreigners who want to settle in the Philippines. The problem is you're shooting yourself in the foot. To those people who want to bash the Philippines, how do you expect any investment into the Philippines? How do you expect the livelihoods of those in the tourism sector, those people who have resorts to improve, if you're painting the country like you need to go there wearing a bulletproof vest? But I have to say, in my 60 visits to the Philippines, not once have I ever felt threatened. Not once have I had any crime committed against me whatsoever. There was only one exception, and I'll share this to you. I used to go to the Fiesta ng Dayak, so in Dagupan, and it's about 1 million people. And there was one year I went to the Bangos Fiesta, for anyone who doesn't understand Filipino.
Yeah.
And
Bangos,
I went there one year, and there were literally hundreds of thousands of people around me. And I knew that somebody was going to go for my wallet. I don't blame them. There's poverty in the Philippines. And, you know, if I was in poverty, I might even do the same thing. I probably wouldn't, but there we are. So I had my hands firmly in my pockets. And I felt this guy try to take my wallet, but because I had my hand firmly in my pocket, he wasn't able to take it. And this was going back a few years ago. So in the evening, I went with my sister-in-law and we went to the police station, and the police officer said, "I know who's done it. Do you want us to arrest him?" So it just shows you, you know, in those days, there was even maybe some corruption in the police, you know. The fact is, you know, you can't change that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say anyway.
okay.
Yes.
And
My last question.
Can you give me 1 second? Can I just quickly ask you to excuse me for 1 second as
Sure,
you chat
sure.
amongst yourself? I just need to get some water. I'm feeling a bit faint. Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
You
sir.
just
No
carry
problem.
on. I'm still on.
take your
fine.
time. Take your time.
Your time, sir. Ayan, maraming salamat po sa lahat po ng mga tumutok, mga Reaksyon TV, and of course sa aking co-host Don Kenkoy and Philip Bren. Sa lahat po ng mga nandito, kay Ems Anog, kay Steven Suppler. So doon po sa tanong niya kanina, hindi niya po masagot yun dahil hindi niya pa po alam siguro kung ano yung istorya ng panahon ni Cory Aquino. I think nagsimula lang siya sa panahon na lately lang. But he ano po siya, yung kanyang sinasabi is talagang very
Honest and
talagang,
true.
honestly, and honest siya at sure yung sinasabi niya, and ayaw niya rin yung katulad po ng tinatanong ni Philip Bren is about the ABS-CBN is not the part of the Duterte issue. So kaya hindi niya po masyadong sinagot yun dahil sabi niya nga hindi nga yun ang time para sagutin niya. So
Pero sabi niya clever nga daw eh. Pinag-aralan ko daw siya.
ah, kaya
Hindi, kasi reaction ganito, ano, kaya mahirap magtanong unang-una, hindi yan Filipino
yes.
nationality. So, hindi limited ho ang sagot niyan. Kaya dapat ang tanong diyan is limited rin. Hindi yan pwedeng tatanungin mo ng tatanungin kasi yung impact kasi ng mga tanong, kaya kung mapapansin nyo may mga sagot siya na medyo paiwas dahil hindi siya pwede
Yes.
talaga totally ma-involve
Yes.
sa issue ng Pilipinas. So, kaya pag tinatanong ako ni Reaksyon TV, marami akong gustong itanong pero hindi ko pwedeng itanong dahil hindi niya pwedeng masagot. Unang-una mga Kengs, mga ka-reaksyon, inuulit ko, hindi siya ho Pilipino. Ngayon kung Pilipino ho yan, matatanong ho natin yan kasi ayan ho ay halimbawa si Reaksyon TV, ako, kayo, mga Pilipino kayo, citizen kayo ng Pilipinas. Kung tanungin ko man kayo halimbawa ng direkta, masasagot niyo ako ng direkta. Unlike ho ng ibang lahi na merong malasakit kahit papaano nakikita ng ibang lahi, yung malasakit na ginagawa ng ating Pangulo. Ngayon, kung magtatanong sa kanya, wag ho na tayo mag-i-expect nang sasagutin niya tayo ng diretso. Kasi may limitasyon ho ang sagot niyan. At may
Yes.
limitasyon din ho ang bawat tanong. Hindi ho ako makapagtanong, unang-una mahina ako sa English. Inaamin ko na sa inyo, mahina ho ako sa English. Pero naiintindihan ko lahat ng kanyang sinasabi. So, ang point ho dito, wag ho natin siyang hihingan ng konkretong sagot. Dahil kung ang ibang Pilipino nga, unang-una, walang alam sa history. How about pa yung ibang lahi na nagkameron ng concern sa Pilipinas? Yun ho may sasagot ko dun sa mga nagsasabi na
Yes,
hindi niya
okay.
nasagot yung tanong.
Thank you very much.
Yun lang ang masasabi
Thank
ko
you very
dun,
much,
mga
Thank you.
ka-reaksyon.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I've
Malcolm.
been listening to that.
Yes.
Mr. Donkey, can I just say something? I've been listening to what you've said, and I completely agree, and I thank you for that. I don't really understand all of the history. It just so happens that during this time, I respect the president. I consider him almost as a father figure to me, and I respect what he's doing in the country. And I won't be drawn into every single issue. I won't be drawn into every single DDS issue. I'm not going to comment on everything. I only comment when I personally feel offended or when I personally feel there's something to say. I'm not going to be encouraged or enticed to say something just because people want to say that. You either taking me as you find me. You either like the fact that I respect the country and I defend the Philippines and defend the president, or you block me and ignore me and unfollow me. But the fact is, if I will not stop supporting the president forever, and I will not stop supporting the Duterte family for as long as they remain in office, and even beyond that. And, you know, that's just how I am. You know, don't expect me to be a certain way. I get very upset. I got a lot of bashing over certain issues and even death threats. And I find that very sad because here you have a foreigner, here you have a Westerner, a British person who's probably the biggest supporter of President Duterte outside of the Philippines. Do you want me to do that or don't you want me to? You know, I'll always support the president. I'll never stop that. But either I can remain vocal and fight when the Rappler says something bad or when the BBC says something bad. And to other people who say, why is he getting involved? And even some Duterte supporters who maybe get jealous or whatever, you know, I have to say to them, did you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and did you write a letter for the president that took you 3 hours to write? You know, I'm not expecting any thanks. I'm just, people need to understand that they take me as they find me. I have a great respect for the Philippines, a great respect for the Duterte administration, a great respect for the president. And that will never change, but I'm not going to change being who I am just because it suits you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I have another question? Your opinion.
I have another question for my last question. Okay, so my question, sir, is do you think Mr. President Duterte is the best of the president in the Philippines?
He is certainly the best president that I'm aware of, because I've been following the Philippines for the last 20 or so years, and I've seen a number of presidents. I'm not going to be. I also support the Marcos family, and I'm not going to. This is not a conversation about the Marcoses, but I also support the fact that the country was going in the right direction. Even then, there was massive infrastructure builds. You only have to look at the time of Ferdinand Marcos, where you had the Philippine General Hospital, the Children's Hospital, the Heart Center, the Philippine International Convention Center, which is still standing now. That building is still standing and is perfectly fine. Some of the later projects of Aquino, airports with cracks in them, etc., you can't compare. But I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk about that. All I'm going to say is that President Duterte, for me, is doing a brilliant job. He generally cares about the country, cares about the Filipino people. He doesn't want any airs and graces. He doesn't want any corruption. He doesn't want any people calling in favors or phoning in their mates and just saying, we want to get here, or we want preferential treatment. The president said he doesn't even want that. He doesn't even want that from his own family. And I think that's the excellent thing about this president. But most of all, here is a man who's 75-year-old man. Here is a man who should be happily retired now with his family, going out to the park or the beach or spending time with his children. But here is a man who's working 20 or more hours a day. Here is the man who's spending every single second of his life thinking about the Philippines, caring about the Philippines. And, I think the Filipino people should be very grateful for him. And those of people who say that we need to look at the president's health and everything like that. But as his team have said, he's 88% healthy. You find me another 75-year-old man, I'm just approaching 50 and I get out of breath when I walk to the shops. He's 25 years older than me. And yet he's still very much in control of the country. People make all these accusations talking about fentanyl, talking about his mind, but he knows every single thing that's going on in the Philippines. He knows every single department, every single politician. He knows about what's going on in the country. He's got his eye on the ball, his finger on the pulse, and you can't change that. You can't take that away from him. Which president in the past has been from Mindanao? None of them. This is something that's truly fantastic for the people of Mindanao, but also for the whole entire Philippines, that you have someone who treats the Philippines like they're his children. The Filipino people are his children. He is the father of the nation. And I don't think you found that before in any president. And that's what I love about President Duterte. Again, I'm sorry it's a long-winded answer, but I just felt I should tell you my honest feeling.
Actually, we don't mind your reaction. Actually, this is an open forum. Like we're talking to the people here, and you can have your honest reason you want. We just want to hear your honest opinion. Actually, I have another question. If the host
go
won't
ahead.
mind.
I'm not in any rush. You go ahead.
Yes, yeah.
Host, is it okay? Can I have any idea regarding the death bill? Can I have your reaction regarding the death bill? Do you agree
the death
with
penalty?
Me? Yeah.
You've really done your research, haven't you? I'm a British national. I live in the UK. And here in the UK, we are against the death penalty fundamentally. And the reason why we are against the death penalty in the UK is because back in the 60s, there were a number of people who were put to death when they weren't guilty. There was a very famous one of a British man, and I can't remember his name. He was the last person to be executed in the UK. And he was with a group of people who had a gun. And when the police approached them, this particular individual said, "Let him have it." And I think what he meant was, let him have the gun. But basically, what the police interpreted was meant, let him shoot the person dead. So he became an accomplice to murder, and therefore he was executed. Now, also, to answer you, I want to take you back to the Philippines, probably the Chong Sisters. I'm sure you know the case of the Chong Sisters. These were a group of sisters who were apparently raped, and they had 250 witnesses, and every single one of those witnesses placed the people who were accused at not being on the scene. Even a Cebu Pacific crew, including steward and the pilot, said that the person who was supposed to have done this rape wasn't even there at the time. And the problem is, and I've got to be honest about this, there is no jury system in the Philippines. And as a result of that, it's the judge who gives the sentences. And the problem that I have with that is, don't get me wrong, I'm not Filipino. I shouldn't comment on the Filipino judiciary. It's not my place to do that. But what I will say is this: there were clearly some mistakes that happened in those time. And what should have happened to one of the people who raped the Chong sisters, what should have happened is he should have been executed. That was the punishment. They got the death penalty. But what happened, as far as I know, is it was the time of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, and she overturned the death penalty at that time. And the reason why she overturned it was that those entirely innocent men wouldn't receive the death penalty. So to qualify that, what I say is this: if there is 100% proof, if there is DNA evidence, if there is proof beyond reasonable doubt by a judge and a jury, and it's gone to various times, it's gone to Supreme Court, it's gone to the president, then yes, there are certain crimes and there are certain people who I have no problem with the death penalty. But because there have been too many failures, and there are failures every single day in America, there are people who got 50 years in jail and they've been released because they are innocent. I am too worried, particularly as the Philippine justice system, the court process takes a long time. If somebody's going to be in prison for a year simply because they, I don't know, stole something from a shop or whatever it may be, then how can you properly process people on the death penalty route when the prisons are overcrowded as a result of many years of underinvestment? Is it fair for somebody who's going to face the death penalty to be in a cell with 150 other people, to not have access to the right legal representation? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but what I'm saying is it's expensive. If you are some drug lord, you can afford to have the very best lawyers in the Philippines. But if you are a regular Philippine citizen who had an argument with your wife and you ended up shooting your wife dead and you were put on trial and you were found to have the death penalty, how can that be fair? So my answer is, I'm not against the death penalty per se, but I've got to be honest and say that I don't really agree with it based on my principles here in the UK. I'm not going to change my stance on the death penalty in the UK just because I support the Philippines. And although I think the death penalty can come in the future, if I'm honest and respectfully to General Bato, who I've met, respectfully to Senator Pacquiao and Senator Bato, I support it in the future. But right now, I think the justice system has to be ready. I think there has to be a better system before the death penalty is introduced. And I'm sure there'll be many politicians in the Philippines who would agree. If the death penalty does get through now, I think that's a shame, because I think there could be corrupt politicians, corrupt police, corrupt drug dealers, corrupt drug lords who may be put to death when it's not right to do that.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you very
Well
much,
said.
sir.
Well said.
Your
Really,
opinion is very,
well said.
very great and very neutral, and nothing for critics and criticize. That you're only analyze, because all your video and all your posts, your social media, especially on Facebook, I saw you everything. And also, if you don't, if you have some wrong critics from our government, then your post, like example, one of the bar top notcher 2019, you react. You react, yeah. because you're not the top notcher on bar, but
Completely.
so
You know, I
yeah,
didn't even go to university. I'll say this again. I didn't even go to university. I did very badly at school. I was bullied at school. In fact, my
yeah,
spelling's not very good. But what I can tell you is I have a heart for the Philippines, a heart full of Filipino people, and a passion for the country. And I don't need to be some big shot lawyer who's best in a group and wants the publicity. It's nothing to do with that. I'm just here as a British national giving an honest opinion of what I
yeah.
believe is happening in the Philippines. And as I visit the country on a regular basis, I have family there, I support the country, I feel I've just as got much right as freedom of speech as every other person.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, and good point. Thank you, and also
Do you have
after
any
this,
questions?
after this, I proceed. I will go to with Attorney Glenn Chong. I have interview.
Please give him my
Attorney
best
Glenn Chong is your,
regards.
yeah.
Please give.
Attorney
I've
Glenn
met him
Chong
in
is your,
London a few
yeah,
times.
yes, in
Please give him.
your friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've met him a few times, and please give him my best regards. He's a great man,
yeah,
and I know he wants the very best for the Philippines. He wants a better election system, and I think that's badly needed. I think the death penalty is something you can consider in the future, but what
yeah,
needs to be considered at the moment is the immediate priorities, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, which is that the next elections would be held in a proper way, and that somebody would be properly elected, not the smart magic machine that you have now, with the greatest respect.
Smart magic?
even
Ah, yes.
uh, even
Well,
some of the Congress, maybe half of Congress is agree for the hybrid election. And last 2 days ago, Attorney Glenn Chong is guest here to our live streaming. And now, a second time, he invite me now to live streaming to another platform. So
Nice.
I tell him, Mr. Malcolm Conlan is my guest today. So after this, so I will go to your interview. He said, okay, no problem. But don't forget, don't forget, I need you because I want to meet you all the leaders, another leaders to another country. So I very glad because because Mr. Malcolm, my heart is doing to help other people and poorest of the poor. And also here is my channel is not for what I can say, Mr. Philip Brand. My
uh,
YouTube channel,
it's yes, YouTube channel.
yeah, my
The
YouTube
YouTube,
channel is not for
it's
money.
non-profitable. It's
Yeah,
non. It's
it's not
non-profitable.
not
Mm.
profitable because my salary here on YouTube I give to help to poorest of the poor. So
Jeez.
that's exactly because I have my own work and I have salary from my work. So no problem. My salary on YouTube, so no problem. 3/4 from YouTube, so I give to them. Then that's it for my helping us and my love our kababayan because I'm here in Saudi Arabia because I the one of OFW. So that's it.
I
Mhm.
admire your passion and I admire your advocacy, and I'd like to thank you personally for what you're doing for the Philippines and the Filipino people from the bottom of my heart. You know, we need more people like you, and I'm very grateful. I'm also very grateful for this opportunity. And I'm also very grateful that you've taken the time to listen to me. And I'm very grateful that you've asked me some very pertinent questions that I felt even scared to answer in public. And I'm glad that you've challenged me in this way, and that
Mhm.
you've been able to allow me. And I'll probably get bashed. I'm probably going to get bashed by some people. But
Mhm.
that's just one of the things. I'm not going to change the person that I am just because people want me to change. I've got to be true to myself.
Yes.
Mr. Malcolm,
Yeah,
Mr. Malcolm, can
public.
I ask you something?
Yeah, go
Would
ahead.
Huh?
you
Go
be
ahead.
free any time for another interview next time with Reaction TV?
I'd be
Uh,
very happy to. It's a great honor. I it's hard during lockdown, particularly for many people, and a lot of people are sitting at home watching Facebook right now. So I'd like to greet everybody. I'd like to greet all of the people watching Reaction TV. But not only that,
mhm.
I've been live streaming this on Facebook. So you haven't heard your bit, but what they've been hearing is my answers. And I'd like to thank everyone watching on Facebook as well. In fact, I still have a lot of questions on my Facebook.
I have a lot of
I
questions.
probably need to answer those. I've got like loads of people kind of asking me about many different issues. But what I
Actually,
would
I
like
have.
to do is to greet all of your listeners and to thank you very much for this this great
Mhm.
opportunity. You know.
Thank you
I
very
have a
much,
lot
sir.
of
And,
questions.
uh,
I have a lot of
yes,
questions on the next interview. I'm still
yeah,
not
yes,
finished. Yeah, but next
uh,
time it's okay.
yes, I'll send to Mr. Malcolm at not now because he's a very busy man, and I extend one of he said that Mr. Malcolm is the publishing public bashing is very normal, you know, sir, very normal. So, but my I stand with my own opinion. I stand with my our president, and I stand my our country because I am one of the Filipino people. I want to change because uh, so many years ago they need, and also me, they need to change to our country. So maybe this now and in future.
Well, he has the support of 16 million, if not 21 million Filipinos. And not only
Yeah.
that, even beyond that, you know, the fact is a lot of people I hear saying to me every day, they never voted for Sir President Duterte, but they support him now. And you only have to look at the surveys to know that he has a popularity rating of over 75%. You show me any world leader, as Stephen Sikor said when he was interviewing Maria Ressa on Hard Talk,
Yeah.
he said, look, you've got to be
Yeah, I heard
honest.
that.
You tell me any other leader would give their right arm to have the popularity that President Duterte has. And realistically, you know, the thing is that the opposition, they say these surveys are false. But if it was a survey saying LENI Robredo had a my batteries run out on my iPhone. If it was a LENI Robredo supporter and LENI Robredo got 80% popularity, they would say it's a wonderful survey and it's fantastic and it's highly accurate. But if it comes to a survey of President Duterte, a lot of the bashers would say that it's a fake survey. You know, they can't have it both ways. You either accept the fact that President Duterte is doing a good job and is liked by over 80% of the Filipino population, or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we.
So
Mhm.
one last question before end this live stream. Okay. The from viewers, can I ask to Mr. Malcolm if they somehow dispute the government of this own country? What you do
Can
think,
you
sir? What your
can you try and explain that to me? I didn't quite get that.
What's the question? Can I ask Mr. Malcolm if he somehow disputes the he's asking you if you also dispute the government in your country.
Yeah, okay, right. So maybe he's somebody, I don't know what his take is on this, but I have to say, you know, I find Philippine politics very interesting. You know, I find the
Okay.
country very interesting, the culture very interesting, and it's I won't watch news in the UK. You know, I've got bored of listening to coronavirus updates. I'd much rather listen to the presidential addresses. I'd much rather listen to what's happening in the Philippines. And one of the reasons for this is I can't wait to go back home. And while
Uh,
this COVID-19 pandemic is going on, I can't go back home to the Philippines. I get messages every single day from Filipinos around the world asking me when it's safe to go back to the Philippines, asking me what the latest measures are, people asking me for help. Can you contact the president? Can you contact Mokaruson? Can you contact Senator Bongo? So I have to be up to date with what's happening in the
mhm.
Philippines. As regards to our own country, yes, I admit I'm a conservative voter, a traditional conservative voter. And I appreciate Boris Johnson, who's our Prime Minister, and what he's doing at the moment. One of the reasons why I like Boris Johnson, you might have seen this article, was that he was wearing a Philippine t-shirt. So,
Yeah.
and the fact is, he's got Philippine connections. Even before he became our Prime Minister, I know he has a Filipino housekeeper. I remember back we had a big Barrio Fiesta in central London. And in fact, Boris Johnson spoke at that Barrio Fiesta as well. So I know he also has a heart for the Philippines and the Filipino people. And not only that, you know, the other thing I have to say is about very, very briefly about Brexit. You know, I supported Brexit as well, meaning that we would leave Europe. And the reason why I voted for Brexit, the only reason why I voted for Brexit, is I feel it's going to be better for the Philippines and Filipino people. Because what used to happen was, if you're in the UK and you wanted to employ somebody, you had to employ somebody from Europe. Europeans got preference, even if their English wasn't very good, or there were many other issues. They had preference. I want to employ a Filipino carer. I can't get a Filipino carer, not really, but I'm just saying. I couldn't get a Filipino nanny, but I can get a European nanny. I wanted to get a nurse from the Philippines, but I can't. I've got to get a European nurse in preference. It's only if what used to happen was, if you had a specific job that you wanted covered, you had to look within the UK. If you couldn't look within the UK, you had to look within Europe. If you couldn't find them in Europe, you could then go to a non-EU country. With Brexit, it puts it on a level playing field. What it means is there's a points-based system. No longer will there be a priority for Europeans. Now, if you've got the right qualifications, if you've got the right skills, you can come from the Philippines. And this is why I'll read those in a second. This is why I support Brexit and why I support Boris Johnson and what he's doing. Elizabeth Chong, thank you for being there for our President Duterte, supporting our aim as we want to be. God bless you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Chong. I believe we probably have some others coming up as well, maybe. Maybe we don't.
Well, we have a lot. We have a lot. Actually, would like to thank you. And we hope we could have another interview with you.
I would like that very much.
I'm very, very thankful because Mr. Malcolm here in Reaksyon TV, and I'm not imagine Mr. Malcolm and my guest today. So I'm very, very glad. And
you're very welcome.
Also,
I have to say, can I just say one more thing? This is the first time this has ever happened to me in an interview. But there was a while back there where I felt really faint. I felt like I was going to pass out. This happened about 20 minutes ago, where I felt really dizzy. I had to go and get some chocolate. I had to drink some water. This has actually been quite an intense interview, because normally with interviews, I can kind of just ad lib. But I've had to concentrate so hard on some of your questions that, it's great, but it's meant that it's actually made me feel quite faint and quite hot.
Yeah.
So please forgive me. This has never happened when I've been on Facebook Live, but I actually had to step out and I still feel a little bit dizzy, but I've still stayed for you anyway.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
My we question is all basic question only. It's not the typical
No,
question.
but for me, it's the way I answer, because these... No, of course it is. I'm not saying your questioning was wrong. What I'm just saying is there are certain issues that I don't normally address. There are certain issues that I wouldn't normally comment on publicly. And you've been very clever. You've asked me the questions that I don't necessarily agree with the pro-Duterte stance or the DDS stance on some of these questions. That's just me personally. And you found those, and it's very clever. And I think you've probably been looking or researching.
No, I'm your fan, actually. I'm your fan. Really, I've been watching you, and I like you, and I like your comments. Really, to be honest.
Thank you.
You know, sir, what the reason why I invite you here? Because all my viewers from yesterday, they watching on your video on my YouTube channel, and I asked to your permission before I upload, but Mr. Malcolm is agree, and I think Mr. Malcolm, I invite my live streaming today. Then I ask again, and thank you very much, sir. And first time here, and thank you very much. And
Thank you
your
so much.
good point, your good point is your UK national, and my country is Filipino, but your stand and your good opinion and reaction, and not criticize, analyze. Your own opinion is very, very good. So we appreciate your opinion, is because it's not a criticize. You know, the Leni Robredo, Mr. Malcolm, the opinion is not criticize. He analyze and open your mind. This is a reality. Yes, sir.
This is what's
Yes.
Yeah,
happening.
completely right. I completely agree with you. I think, criticizing won't get us anywhere. Criticizing will only get us people bashing. I think if we analyze and we have our own opinion, I'm not just going to bow down to those who want me to comment on this or comment on that or say a certain thing. I will give my own honest opinion, take it or leave it, but I rest assured 100%. I even swear on the Bible, which people don't agree me to do, and I don't think I even need to, but my point is I support President Duterte. I will always support President Duterte. I'm not yellow, I'm not Dilawan or anything like that. I will remain loyal to President Duterte for as long as I live, but I'm human. I have my own experiences, my own background. I'll say this again. I love TFC. I watch TFC. I'm a TFC supporter. Does that mean I'm a bad supporter of the president? No. That's just me being honest. I feel sorry for those Filipinos, anybody at all in the pandemic who's lost their job. I've lost my job. I haven't been working for over a year. People think just because I'm British, I'm rich or something like that. But I don't have any money. I'm broke. I'm having a bad life. I'm depressed. I've put on weight. But the fact is that won't change what I believe. That won't change my support for the president. I will always have that support. But please don't judge me and please don't swear at me just because I don't agree with you on every single issue.
That's correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
ACDB, Mr. Marcon, I like your attitude is straightforward. Yes, it's very direct to the point. Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Marcon,
and
and
Thank you. Salamat.
yes, this is ACDB from USA, and also Ma'am Agnes Cari. He knows that the president is doing his best helping the country.
Completely. Hi, Agnes. Thank you.
Yan. This all the viewers from different country, USA, Singapore, Philippines, and even
Canada,
yes, and also Philip Bren is from
Europe.
Europe. Yes. And Don Kenkoy is from Philippines and me from Saudi Arabia. And thank you very much, sir, for having time and giving time to our live streaming. And I super, super appreciate because you accept my invitation. And also the all viewers here is very appreciate. They appreciate your opinion and they thank you about the president, your support and your love the Filipino people as well. So thank you very much for your support and another kababayan. Thank you very much. And Don Kenko, your last message to Mr. Marcon before end the live streaming. Go ahead.
I would like to thank you, sir, for being here on a live stream of Reaction TV, and we appreciate all the things you say, all the things you do for the Filipino people. And I wish this is not the last time you will be here on live stream. Thank you so much, sir, and God bless.
Can I just make
Stay
one
safe.
comment in
Thank
response
you
to
so much.
Gemelin Bias? She said, very honest opinion, Mr. Malcolm, and I thank you for displaying this. I like TFC as well, but when I started to watch the Congress hearing, I think each and every one of us needs to open their mind. I support PRD. I'd like to say to you, Gemelin, that I listened to the Congress hearing. I listened to every single minute of the Congress hearing. I'm not going to comment on these issues, but what I will say is I find it sad that people have lost their job, and I will still be a fan of TFC. I'm not going to change that, but I don't understand the history. I don't understand the politics. I'm not going to comment on every single issue, but the fact is I still love the Philippines and I still love the president, and I'm not going to be drawn into, I'm not going to accept people bashing me on my support of TFC. I'm not going to change. If you don't like it, unfriend me, block me. But I hope I can remain true to myself, and I hope I can still continue to support the president because I support the president dearly, and I'm not going to change that.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
so much.
Mr. Marcon is honest opinion only. It's not nothing nothing another criticize, but only analyze only. Okay, so Mr. Philip Bren, what message, so last message to Mr.
Uh,
Marcon?
I'd like to thank you for your honesty and your kind opinion. You're being direct, and I appreciate that. And I was thankful for my personal questions. I'm so sorry that I asked, but this is
No, thank
my
you,
own
Maraming
opinion.
Salamat. I really
And
appreciate your questions.
Yes, thank
I hope it will be our guest next time on Reaction TV. We can schedule it next time. And I'd like to hear from you more. Thank you so much.
It would be an honor, an absolute honor. I've really enjoyed this opportunity. It's been a great privilege to be able to talk to you. I think I'm very happy to react on any issue you feel is, and I'll be honest. I'll give you my honest opinion, and I'm glad that you respect that. I'm really glad. I also thank you for giving me that opportunity to voice out my true feelings. I'm not going to hide anything. I'll give you the courtesy to be honest.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Guys, sa lahat po ng mga viewers namin, Mr. Marcon he have own show. So Mr. Marcon, please invite them to your own show, no problem. And this is a open forum and open promotion. This is not for only money, because I want to help to another people, and also and very thank you. And please promote your
Invite them.
own.
Yeah, invite them,
Invite-
please. And
Thank you. So I'd like to invite everybody to watch my show Pusong Pinoy. This is the 3rd series. I'm very grateful to Kabayan Remit for sponsoring the first 2 series. We're now on series 3. We've interviewed a lot of people from the Filipino community. We've promoted Filipino culture, promoted the country. And just earlier on today, I did an episode with Gia Misha, one of the stars of Voice Kids Philippines, and Sid, and a very talented Mia Librojo over here. She's also in a competition. It's about promoting the culture, promoting the country. And I invite everybody to watch Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan. We normally have our show twice a week. We're also using StreamYard, so I'm familiar with what you're doing, and I think what you're doing is excellent as well. So thank you very much. Maraming salamat.
Wednesday, or your show is Wednesday, Thursday, or something?
So it's every Sunday normally, every Sunday at 1:00. We
Okay.
sometimes have a show on Thursday at 1:00, but
Okay.
due to some other reasons, we did the show today on Saturday. But it's basically once or twice a week. The thing is, you're right about cost and the cost of doing it and everything. It's a project that actually costs me money. I have a sponsor and everything else. I've invested in it. It's not something that, when you do these shows, it's not just something about the hits or anything like that. In my case, it's about promoting the Philippines and promoting culture. For me, it's not just about politics. There are sometimes I don't even want to mention politics because it can be quite divisive. The fact is, it's promoting the country, promoting the Philippines. I want to showcase the Philippines so that more people will visit the country, which is the complete opposite to Rappler, Maria Ressa, or all these other people who want to paint a bad picture of the Philippines, and that stops people from visiting the country.
Okay. So that's 1 p.m. Philippine time, right?
Correct. No, 8 p.m. Philippine time. We just had the show earlier on today. It's normally
Okay.
on Sundays at 8 p.m. Philippine time.
Okay, so I'll see you there. I'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
there.
much.
See you. Thank you very much, sir, and good evening. God bless. And once again, I hope you enjoy here. Thank you very much. And to all my viewers, maraming salamat to Mr. Marcon. So, paalam na tayo. That's it.
Last message kay ACDV. Can he check his Instagram? I sent something. ACDV.
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Marcon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
so much. Goodbye po.
Mabuhay. Thank you to your show. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and congratulations again.
God bless, sir. God bless. God bless.
God bless you
God
too.
bless.
Thank you.
Bye-bye sa inyo lahat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mabuhay po kayong lahat. God bless to all.
Ikaw ang pangulo para sa pagbabago. Awa na ang bayan ko sa magnanakaw na tao. Madilim na kahapon, ikaw ang mataahon. Sa piling mo, di ko mawawala ang korupsyon. Lalo na Pilipinas